Amberley woke up in the middle of the night, watching her older sister go for the door in only her nightgown with a small lighted candle. She was going to sneak off again, she thought, going out to meet her secret lover in the forest. That was what Amberley was so certain of, that her older sister Rosy was going to do. Before leaving the room, Rosy turned around to watch her younger sister to make sure Amberley was asleep. So the little girl Amberley shoved her face deep into the pillow and pretended to do just so. And then she just laid there waiting for the bedroom door to open and then close. She spurred quickly to her feet. She had been waiting for this for days. This wasn't the first time her older sister Rosy had been going out sneaking into the night. And this time Amberley was sure not going to miss out on the action. She was going to discover who Rosy was seeing so she could tell father. Because father had been very strict about going into the night out to the mushroom forest, something that had become quite forbidden. Because according to father and a lot of other people in town, many people had gone missing inside that big dark mossy old forest. But Amberley wasn't some scared little girl. She was going to follow her sister through the night, find out who she is seeing, and then tell father all about it to get her little payback. She had so many little things to get back on her sister for. So tonight's the night to expose her for what she truly was. Once outside, the wind was blowing quite hard, and that made it very easy for Amberley to stalk her older sister Rosy, because all other sound were killed from the heavy winds. Now somehow Rosy's candlelight still shined bright, even though the wind should probably have killed it once she stepped outside. However, it truly helped Amberley follow her sister, because she could continuously see wherever her older sister was, even in this dark night. The older sister Rosy was moving quite fast through the forest. Amberley was doing everything she could do on her short legs to keep up, moving through wooden, stone and moss alike. The hard wind was making the trees dance, swinging in a jig from side to side, harshly trying to rip and tear on Amberley's little hair. Rosy were heading quite deep inside the forest. They were not following any path of some sort, or any road that Amberley knew of. Whatever guided her older sister Rosy was quite a mystery. Amberley knew tiny bits and pieces about the forest, some places like the old river, or the musky tree, or some parts of the mushroom fields. However, she didn't know where she was right now. It was too dark and she didn't recognize any of the places. And also, she didn't know in what sort of direction Rosy were heading. They didn't follow any path or road, and that made things a lot more hard to understand. But she wasn't going to give up. She wasn't going to turn back. They had been walking for several minutes, and well, Amberley actually didn't know how to get back. But she wanted to figure out and discover what Rosy were up to night after night, sneaking off. Even though the heavy wind was trying to blow her away and the trees almost clawed her apart, she remained vigil. She had her little bunny stuffed animal that made her brave, something that always kept her brave through the dark nights. But those nights were inside doors, inside a cabin, inside her little room, beneath a blanket and having a close and warm pillow. This was outside in a forest she didn't really know, a forest she started to feel was almost alive. But then suddenly Rosy's little candle disappeared. She somehow must have gotten inside somewhere. Now Amberley was several meters behind, so she started to actually run up the hill and towards the area where Rosy disappeared. She searched within the area where she had seen the flame disappear, but nothing was really there. Eventually she started to think that this was it, had to give up in a dark place. But then suddenly she started to hear voices from some sort of echo. And when she searched towards that area where the voices came from, she started to see something that looked like some sort of opening. She pushed some of the tree branches aside and moved forward, where she actually found an opening to a cave. It was something that had been digged out, hacked through stone, and she could see small stairs leading down, where the sound of echo and discussion and voice came from. It wasn't really what Amberley was expecting. She thought they would meet in some sort of a sacred grove, where they were going to kiss and make out, but this sounded like several different voices, more than two. There was some sort of heat, a moisturous hot fog that came from down below in the cave. Amberley were making her way down, step by step, on the carved out stony stairs. She was constantly looking for some sort of hiding place. The last thing on earth she wanted was to be discovered. And the big old stone did the job. She squatted down and peeked through to see what was going on. And she was quite surprised to find out that there was not two of them, but several more. They were a group. They were about 10 or so, and they were singing and dancing in a sort of strange language that Amberley had never heard of. It looked quite violent. And in the middle of the group there was a big stone figure, something carved out. It looked like an animal, a four-legged animal, a small animal, a dog maybe. A very strange looking dog with strange fur and a strange grime. A grime that looked straight into Amberley's face, straight into her eyes, almost like the statue knew that Amberley was watching, sitting there and hiding, observing it all. She couldn't fathom what to make of all this. It was so obscure, so strange. This wasn't her older sister. She could see her older sister participate in this dance. Yet what's going on? What is this? And why did they have a stone statue of a strange, obscure-looking dog? And what on earth were they trying to say, repeatedly over and over? What did the word Uniki mean? This wasn't something Amberley could consider watching or seeing any longer. She turned her back and started to run up the stairs out of the cave. She didn't even care if they heard her. She just wanted to get home, get back home to her bed and shove her big face down into the pillow. Once outside in the forest again, she kept on running in whatever direction she thought was the right one. She didn't actually know where to go, in what direction home was. She didn't even care. She just wanted to get away from the cave, as far away as possible. She wasn't even supposed to be here. She was just a small little girl who had heard her father say over and over never to go inside the mushroom forest. She was just a scared little girl. Now the wind was so strong and the night was too dark that Amberley didn't see the big branched trees coming for her face and knocking her to the ground. She lay there in the mossy ground, too dizzy and scared to get up, almost ready to cry, and time started to slowly fly by. She didn't know how long she had been laying there in the cold, mossy ground. She was wet, and it was dark, and she better stay where she was, she thought. But she wasn't alone. Allan, who hunted alone, was starting to come quite close. He had been hunting in the night, while he heard a girl screaming and starting to shout. So he had been walking towards that area, and now he was standing close, looking down at Amberley lying on the ground. "Who are you?" Allan asked. "Amberley, and I'm lost. Please help me home," she replied. But Allan just stood there and smiled.